Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Autogefühl episode. We've recently shown you the new Seat Leon ST Cupra. Well, this one is a competitor that has been on the market for quite a while now. The Skoda Octavia vRS, or in Germany you just say RS. Here in the Combi version, so this one is especially loved by the German folks because they prefer these Estate versions here. And of course now here with a lot of horsepower also for this kind of vehicle. There are basically two versions. We have already shown you in an earlier review the TSI, the turbo petrol engine with 2 liters of capacity and 220 horsepower. Recently Skoda has just shown that in Geneva there's also a new version with 230 horsepower coming up, but you know, doesn't make such a difference. This one here now today is the diesel version in combination with the dual clutch transmission DSG. Also 2 liters of capacity but 184 horsepower. Of course, rather fuel consuming in comparison to the petrol engine. So we're going to have a lot of fun today because this one here is really a car you can still achieve, you know. In this version here, as it stands right now, something above 30,000 euros. Let me guess, I think 35,000 euros. Because already the entry price of this car is very low at right above 16,000 euros in Germany. So this one is kind of a dream car for a family father, which you can still really buy realistically with your own money. And that's why it's very exciting here today in our review. So let's start at the front with the exterior. You got a quite huge front grille, and nowadays even BMW customers tend to love this front grille. You know, we've talked about an all-new Skoda Superb, which we've shown you in the world premiere and will be coming in the driving review pretty soon as well. This new front grille here with the Skoda that has been around for 1 or 2 years now in this kind of shape really found some lovers because it looks quite aggressive and also dynamic. And here in this case it is stressed by these lower comp structures. It is kind of just hard plastic, but you know, from the camera I think it looks quite well. The same here, we also, that's a kind of flat comp structure below here. Doesn't look too good if you're looking at the close-up, but looks okay if you have a little bit more distance. And of course all the bumpers are stronger here in the RS version, here in the front, and we got the vRS logo here. Quite a beautiful headlights here as well, I think, because they have kind of this 3D effect. You can see it if you take a close-up here soon. It kind of goes inside the headlight unit, and that's kind of a very nice effect. From the side profile, I think they have found a very good compromise between practical size. You know, the car is 4.65 meters long. That's longer than the Volkswagen Golf, but shorter than the Volkswagen Passat. So Skoda is placing, you know, in the corporation comparison, always placing them between the Volkswagen models. It's a quite clever choice there. And still you got some kind of a dynamic look. You're not losing too much space here in the rear compartment, and you also got quite large windows that there's a lot of light in the interior, and passengers can also look outside pretty well. But still there's some kind of the dynamic look, also stressed by the 18-inch alloys, which are serial in the RS version. Also very beautiful here in the black, makes the car a little bit aggressive. Also with the red brake calipers in the contrast. So altogether, it's, well, not the most modern or not most of the more striking design. It's rather conservative, especially here from the side profile. But that's also what you expect as a Skoda customers, that you think, okay, I first want to have a very practical car, and if it's looking good here as the Octavia vRS, that's even better. One very good test to test the quality, well, not the durability, but just the sense of quality, the quality you feel in everyday driving or everyday using the car. It's checking just the door and the door handle, and you see it's in the exterior color of the car and pretty massive, and you can't really put it up and down, so it's very solid. And also when you close the door, the sound it makes, really high class. So you really have to argue, is this premium already? Maybe it is, yes. And finally, the favorite part for me, here in the rear, you still got that quite angular rear lights. Also got the vRS logo here, and then two pipes for this diesel here, very beautifully done. And this one is a nice feature. It's a reflector actually, but still it's kind of a racing stripe at the same time. And so I think this rear here for a practical estate looks pretty nice. So let's take a look at the engine. I love kind of details like these because you see the hood kind of has this shape here around the logo in the front, and it's also opening in that way, and I really love that. Well, Autogefühl hydraulic damper test failed in this case. We have to hold it up manually. And then we see, well, the same covers that are used also for the Volkswagen, just with the Skoda logo here. This one here is the TDI now, as I said, 184 horsepower. And there's also in the other RS version where you get the 2-liter TSI with 220 horsepower. Well, what's the difference? Of course, the diesel is consuming less fuel. And yeah, well, you have another sound, of course. Maybe someone prefers rather petrol engines like I do. And the differentiation between the acceleration is about 1 second. So this one here is 8 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And the turbo petrol one is 1 second less, 7 seconds from 0 to 100. Starting here with the interior, with these beautiful racing seats. The standard seats that come with the RS look a little bit different, and they have a fabric leather mix or artificial leather mix. These ones here are the full leather racing seats. These ones are optional. They look really great. You wouldn't expect it in such a middle segment estate. And especially very good here in the shoulder section. They offer you a lot of side support. Also up here you see the integrated head restraints, also very beautifully done with the contrast stitches and the vRS logo. And I can just say these seats are really superb, premium style. Here with also with this kind of structure, it's very comfortable, I must say. Just from the surface, you know, I'm a favorite if it's Alcantara on the inside, because you don't sweat it not so much. But just from the comfort here, it's really a car for long distances, and especially for the business use, maybe this one is still a very good deal. You could have a kind of racy car and still a car you can very well use in your everyday business life. And so I can just recommend the seats in general. If you don't pick this option here, the other ones, they are also very good. So the comfort is really very nice here also in the Skoda Octavia. And that's also one of the reasons why this one is maybe at the moment the car that offers the best price-performance ratio of all cars there is. So now I'm in the driver's seat, and this is really an interior I can tell you so much about. First of all, I already mentioned the seats as I'm driving now in the driver position. It's kind of strange because at one point it's sporty, you have the side support, but still you have a lot of space. So even if you're a tall person and if you're kind of, a broad person, and, it's kind of the same, because when you're tall, you actually also have like long legs and also maybe a bigger hip or something like that. And these seats here really offer you a lot of space in every kind of direction. Then coming to the steering wheel, I mean, look at this steering wheel with the perforated structure here at the outside. Very nice grip. Also the perfect size here. You would find it exactly like this in an Audi, just that you pay half the price here in the Skoda. Also nice with the chrome logo here. The instruments are very clear, rather classic, analog. Very nice to see here as well. So nothing to moan about that. In the middle display, we can, for example, adjust details of the automatic cruise control or something like that. Then if we move on to the middle console, first of all, you see if you have turned it off, you see an analog clock, which is displayed here digitally, also nice. And this one here is the optional GPS system as well. So there are actually two possibilities. For 1,000 euros extra, you get a small screen, and 2,000 euros extra, you get the big screen here. This is the digital radio switcher here. You can either choose that one here, or you can use this, or you can just put it in a touch screen. Then I think you want to see the GPS, because this one is really superb, I must say. It has so fast reaction times. For example, if I put a new goal here, and looks really great, if you put in another street, you see the reaction time is just really, really fast, and I really love it here. I think this one here in the Volkswagen, all the Skodas have that, also the new Passat. I think it's my favorite GPS because you can get along with it so well. Also, if you want to connect a new telephone, it's going quite fast as well, and you have always good feedback also from the screen. You never mistype something like that. Just have not Bluetooth activated right now. What else I can show you? The car. This consumption is quite high now because we've just gone 4 kilometers. You see, in the long term, it was about 6-7 kilometers. It's not with motorway right now, so I would rather go for 6 liters on 100 kilometers with a diesel. 6 to 7 liters, I would say. However, the petrol engine is rather consuming like 9 or 10 liters on 1 kilometer, so that's really the advantage of the diesel. So, and then down here we got the DSG shifting lever. DSG, almost 2,000 euros extra here in Germany. Also just very beautifully done. Also the contrast stitches here in the gear bag. And I would always recommend a DSG because, it's just very comfortable to have the automatic gearbox here with the dual clutch transmission. And I can show you when I put the car on. It's also so easy to switch it around. From the parking, I have to, press this button here to go in reverse. But then if I want to go in neutral or drive, I don't have to put the button. I can just, and it's all going so fast. So if you like going front and back when parking or something like that from a parking lot, it all goes so easily. And the manual transmission is also good. But if you want to have the automatic gearbox, really a great choice. And then there are a lot of small things here, which is also which Skoda is famous of, because you have a lot of practical things here in the car. For example, You have here in the middle console, you have a kind of device to put your mobile phone in, your smartphone. Otherwise, also possible to get some drinks. Then you have this middle armrest where you can also put stuff in. Also movable, this middle armrest. And then next to me, there's kind of a small litter box. Even with a small litter bag. It's also kind of a funny feature. And it's also possible to put your beverages in here. So you always find a lot of practical solutions here in the Skoda. And my general impressions, it's really high class. Just here for the RS version, we also have this carbon style here as the design elements. And you know, this kind of special steering wheel, that's kind of special for the RS version. But in general, I think the interior is high class. Of course, you just have this black plastic here, but it's not very hard. It's rather soft here. You can see I can put my thumb in it. So it's also quite well done, I think. You see, it's a racing interior already. And so you don't want to have too much. You just have this kind of chrome element here. But then I think you can very well see everything. The buttons are also high class, just from the sound and from the controlling. So I think you can't expect more for this price. Rear compartment. In this case, my favorite compartment. I'm going to tell you why. You see, they have thought about a lot of things. We also got rear handles here in the rear compartment. And well, in this case, it's my favorite department because, well, officially, someone even says, well, it's the compact segment here, like the German official office, which is responsible for all the figures about the cars. But this is definitely not a compact segment. This is surely middle class segment, because look at the space we got here. This is kind of set for a tall driver now, and I have really a lot of space in front of my knees. Here also in the Estate version, a lot of headroom. This here above my head, and I'm 1.86 meters. And then it's really comfortable here in the rear department. Even just the seating position, just relaxing. You also don't lean too far back, because sometimes, especially in some sedans, you lean very much backward, and that's not an uncomfortable position. So for adults here in the car on long trips, absolutely no problem. So I must really say, this is maybe one of the best features here with this car. There's so much space in the rear department and still doesn't look ugly on the outside. Let's take a look at the loading space. Here optional with the electronic opening. Nice feature. It's not a must-have, a can-have. Just press here once and the cover is falling down. We also have an optional rubber mat here, which is kind of good because you can also switch the sides, and here you can just clean it maybe, just let some water rinse above it. Very practical in this case. You have a lot of space here in the car, as you see, and that's also of course one advantage here for the Estate. Also, as we're used from Skoda, very easily to flip the seats. Just, you see, you have an even space in here until the front. I think it can't be even any better for the everyday usability. Same for the other side, by the way. Just flip it once. Okay, that's it then. You see, you can do anything with it, I think, and that's very good. And one feature a lot of people moan about, but still others really like it, is this one here. This is kind of this small rubber handle up there. And someday it looks cheap. Well, yeah, it maybe does, but it's very practical. Here we have the electronic opening and closing, and we don't really need it. But in all other cases, if you just pull this one and then can close the hatch here, it's a really good thing, because you don't have dirty hands then. Here in this case, it's easier. Just press the button and it closes. And I think if you pick this kind of features here in this car, And just take a look at the overall quality. I think it's maybe already some kind of premium here for a non-premium price. So let's get to some driving here. I love to handle this steering wheel because of the perforated surface here. Also the size is right, I've told you before. You also have this great progressive steering here, so that means you can always keep your hands at the steering wheel no matter where you go. You see we're in a roundabout here now. I don't even need half a turning here, maybe now that's okay. You see 180 degrees. I still can keep both hands at the steering wheel. So it's very good for sporty driving, but also good for comfortable driving inside the city, for example. Then if we go right and lefty now, testing the sporty side, we got a quite immediate response from the steering wheel, and also the car behaves very sovereign, I must say. This is also the advantage here for the middle class segment as the car it is, in my opinion. You know, we have already kind of it's not a kind of small or compact car. You still have this sovereign feeling already here on the road. Well, you feel that you got more than 4.5 meters behind you, yes. But still, however, when we test the turning circle now, because also the wheels are kind of changing the angle a little bit, it's kind of easy to steer the car around. I've told you with the DSG, it's easy to change between rear and the normal drive mode. So the whole kind of the car feels kind of light and easy to drive, really. And that's a real, well, very nice feeling when driving the car. The sound isolation is also good. Of course, over here it is a diesel, so the petrol engine would have a nicer sound, even if you're sitting here on the inside. But the general isolation against, for example, wind noise and so on is very good, I must say. And I can just stress again that the seats are very comfortable here on the long-term ride as well. I feel so great here. Maybe it's kind of this seating position I would say, okay, maybe I don't need to have an SUV to sit that comfortable. Here it's really fine, and I would go 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers in this car at one step. Absolutely no problem here for me. So now let's put down the throttle, because this is the RS version. Yeah, well, nice acceleration. So you always have enough power, for example, on the motorway. However, the sound, of course, is not that good for a diesel. We have heard other diesels that have better sound. The petrol engine, for example, has a nice sound generator that is creating a kind of nice sound here also in the interior. So if you're more that kind of sound fan, you should probably go for that. The diesel, however, if you like this very calm riding style on long motorway trips, if you fancy the lower consumption here, then you should also go for the diesel. In general, I'm kind of satisfied with the diesel, besides the sound, of course, because, well, it's always kind of a sovereign engine and also gives you a lot of Newton meters of torque if you really need it. especially here in comparison with a dual clutch transmission, which shifts very, very fast. It's also a nice setup here, this combination, I must really say. The manual transmission is also fine, you can also go with that, but if you're more like convinced of automatic gearboxes, you should definitely pick this one here with the extra version. So what else is there to say? Just the general premium feeling is very good, I must say. You hear it, I said premium, because a lot of these small elements, especially the steering wheel and also the driving comfort, they really give to this feeling that this car is something special, not only the ordinary. And now here in the vRS version, you don't have just the basic Octavia, which is, well, in some respects kind of cheap, still a good price-performance ratio, even better price-performance ratio. But here with the RS version, you can pick the rather cheap car and make it a little bit more exclusive. Nowadays, as the recent car and also the future car shows, Skoda also gets a better and better image. And therefore, you can really say with this Skoda Octavia vRS, you have a car that drives very good, very sporty, and still very comfortable at the same time. And I think that's a combination you don't have so often. So is there actually a negative aspect? Yes, there is one. And it's a little bit about the sound again, because when you're going over smaller bumps, even at lower speeds, you sometimes hear these strange noises, especially from the rear axle. It's kind of like a low frequency sound, like boom. And well, it's not that there's really a failure or something like that, not that it would be uncomfortable. It's just a sound, and that's a problem also the Golf has, because, you know, the Octavia basically shares the same platform than the Golf. So all of the Volkswagen Corporation models have this kind of problem with the sound. It's rather a question if you're really concentrating on that, because we always find with every car something that is maybe not that optimum, but you know, that's one flaw, you have to live with that. But I think the other things about this car are rather convincing. Or what do you think? So let's conclude about the Skoda Octavia vRS Combi or Estate. I think it's a very great pick if you look at the price-performance ratio. As I said, just right above 30,000 euros here in the full equipped version. And of course, I mean, if you don't pick everything which this car has, so not every extra, it's also not that expensive then. Still, even with the 35,000 euros for this very car here, still you cannot really moan about the price. So much features in there. Look at the steering wheel, at the seats, at the practical things this car offers. Sometimes you just get these kind of features for cars that are maybe like twice the price. So very good deal this car here, and still you get a practical and a sporty car at the same time. You can have a lot of fun, very great riding comfort. So there's hardly anything you can find that is kind of bad with this car, and I think it's especially good to mention because of this kind of price. Because, you know, we are always testing a lot of cars that are so great, but maybe cost 100,000 euros. And I mean, come on, there are not so many people who are able to pay for that actually. This car is still a car a lot of people can pay for, and it's no coincidence that the Octavia is also used for many taxi drivers, because they know it's kind of durable and still offers a good price. I've just been to Athens, by the way, and there I only saw, well, the classic Mercedes E-Class taxi and the other taxis, well, some Toyotas, and then the third brand was here, the Skoda Octavia, and a lot of people also from the taxi drivers that are driving so many kilometers really trust in this car. Especially here the vRS version, I was again very satisfied with it. Also a lot of fun. And about question diesel or petrol engine, I usually prefer the petrol engine. However, here in combination with the DSG, the diesel is also a lot of fun. And the petrol engine is really consuming a lot here, the turbo petrol engine in this car. So you might think, okay, if you don't want to spend so much time at the fuel station, you better go for the diesel. If you're a true petrol fan, then there's this possibility as well. Diesel is just, for example, here in Germany, 500 euros more expensive than the petrol engine. So it's not a matter of the basic price, rather a matter of how often you want to fuel the car up, and maybe if you're driving more than 20,000 kilometers a year, go for the diesel, otherwise go for the petrol engine. So also watch the other review we already had with this car with the petrol engine, and also watch the Seat Leon ST Cupra review. This will be very interesting if you haven't seen this review so far. So it's also a good comparison here to the Seat model, and well, what do you say? We're awaiting your comment on that car, also on the other reviews, also maybe on the comparisons to the Seat or diesel petrol engine. And I also always want to know what you think about the color. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode. This was